Hi, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Casey.
Welcome to our farmstead, Cornucopia Orchards. So we're getting some mud mixed up. We're going to install our first shower base. We have 2 shower bases and 1 tub shower, and this is where we're going. This is in the master suite, and we have a 3-foot shower here, 3 foot by 5. So we're pretty much done on prep. Marked on the walls, level all the way around. That's what those green marks are, is level. And then that way we know when we go to set the base in where we are relative to level. I'm gonna give it an inch of material. And then with that shower base over there, it did, obviously, when it's installed this guy first. So the drain is installed and 100% ready to go. This one uses a friction fit and a rubberized gasket. It's an Oatey and plumber's putty. Some will call for other things. We also have this tub, and we're gonna install that next time. But it's ready to go, and we've checked that one dry fit. Make our kids a box for it with all this stuff. So much cardboard. So one thing to note is that when you go to install these shower bases, you definitely want to have read the instructions carefully and know whether you're installing a wall, like a tile wall after the fact, or whether it's a direct to stud. And the big difference there is in either case, you want your studs to be as plumb and straight and not warped as possible, and pick them out if you're not getting an engineered something just to make it perfect. And then of course you want the alcove to be as square as possible, and that will make everything after easier. I give us about an 1/8 of an inch on either side of wiggle room, and this one sits on the ground. It's not attached into the walls more than, I think it might, maybe a little bit through the flange. I haven't actually checked that far ahead yet. And before we get installing, I need to know that, and I need to know whether or not we're looking at, pre-made walls. And on this, we're not, because it's hard to find something that's a pre-made wall for a 3-foot wide shower that isn't just incredibly expensive. So we're gonna tile. So Casey's wrapped on mixing, and we're about ready to start tossing this onto trowel. Lost a little screw there for dry HVAC.
Oh, well, that wasn't totally mixed, was it?
So we ended up having to treat that like some bread, which it's not going to be as tasty as some bread, so that's disappointing. But after kneading, we've got it to the right consistency. We just didn't get the mixer down in there far enough, and that's essentially what we're looking for, though. And we're going to get it to about an inch or so and spread. And then it's probably going to take most of 2 bags for this base, since it's a 3 by 5 minus around the edges. That's what I've marked off on the green there, because that's just a void. So there's no sense putting down mud where there's just a void.
Okay, so I do want to take it all the way to green.
Yeah, so a lot of the times what they say is that you can just do, like, throw down some plops and call it a day, because the base itself will level out the material. But as long as you get it close to about an inch and most of the way through, I think we've been as thorough as we need to be. Very sad avocado plant. The freeze this last week, the house was not quite warm enough for it, and it said it is sad about that. This is what it looks like. And when we first tossed it out, it looked so dry, but Casey massaged it in, and it did have enough moisture content in it. So don't overwater this stuff, for sure. This little homemade depth gauge. So we're just shooting for just about an inch, and that's just over an inch. That way I could see the black mark. We were just trying to get around to the other side with this, and we may have to go a little bit more into that was all the first bag, right, dear?
Yes.
Okay.
We might actually still be able to do the tub, because the tub's going to require, I think, a lot less.
That's true, since we've got this far with just the 1 bag. At like 7/8 inch, I would say probably is what we're doing.
You might just look up whether the mud needs to come out all the way for that black frame on the tub, or if it can be a little bit, if it just needs to be the grid area.
That's fair. What she's talking about is we're not planning on wasting, and this tub has an obvious support structure, you know, so you got this, so that's not the footprint. We were trying to decide whether, and I'll see if I can find actual installation instructions information on it, but whether we needed mud along this webbing as well, because if not, you know, it's just such a small space that it needs that as an extra base. It says basically put down a 1/2 inch of adhesive if you have a perfectly level floor. We're really close, very close. So we're getting real close on plumbing. Once we have these fixtures installed, like we're super duper close. And you can see we've got, you know, our valve is in, and while the tub spout currently doesn't have the plug, I just didn't want it getting in the way of when we go to install this. We have the shower one installed. We have stub outs for toilet and sinks. That one over there is ready. That shower is ready. Toilet over there has its stub out. You know, we've got a couple of cabinets where I'm coming up through the floor. I didn't see any reason to not do that. And partly that's just because the outside wall has fewer penetrations that way. So I just figured why not. And very inconveniently, it's an inconsiderate beam, but there is a massive beam underneath this whole space. So it wasn't really about what I thought. It was about the fact that I couldn't put them in there. So one thing that I did discover today was, you can see behind me here that I went ahead and put on both the blue and the red for a water heater. And I've got the pan ready to go behind me there. And the reason that I'm doing this now is because I need to be able to shut them off. Once we go to do test, the inspector has, I asked because previously they hadn't required it, but I figured, you know, maybe because the last time it was a shop and this time it's a house, they might be more stringent. They wanted to see the hot water, even though it won't be hot because there won't be a water heater, they wanted to see that joined downstairs. And so our system can flow between the two water heater locations. And so we'll just open that valve to allow the hot water to come from where there's cold water downstairs into the system and then up to here, and then not shoot out onto the floor. And the other thing with the water heater up here is I did get confirmation from the county that they did not want PVC for the drain. I'm going to be draining our temperature pressure release valve into the pan, which is allowed in Oregon. And so it needs to be 1 inch larger in the drain coming out and not PVC or ABS or your standard drain. I couldn't find that in the code, and they didn't actually say where it was. They just said do it in PEX or CPVC. And since I don't like CPVC, PEX. So hidden back here behind this tub, I took advantage of the fact that the tub does not, you know, it's not a rectangle. So it's not going to be up against the wall there, which is great because there is a great big beam underneath here supporting the stairs, and it did not allow me to access into this closet. So this is my way in. So I brought those in and down, a way to get around this anyway, and then way over into the walls where I'm bringing that one up and that one up. But it's just when you're dealing with stuff that's on this side, like the tub, that didn't make a whole lot of sense and let me, you know, snake a bunch of stuff in there. So little things you can do to make your life easier, I guess. This little spot back here in the closet is going to be super handy. So there's going to be basically like a faux panel here, and you can just pop it off is the plan, and get access to turn off any of the hot water that's up here in the top floor. We have a couple of valves that are just blanks with a cap on them right now. And that way, if we ever were to install anything else, it would be pretty easy to snake something off of there. So that's useful. And then, you know, we could also do a faux panel on this side and, I don't know, stuff a kid in there or something. Maybe not a kid, maybe a kid, depending on the day.
I'm gonna get our nice shower.
Sticky, sticky goo. Okay. and gently turn it and go through the stud bay. Yeah, let's not entomb me in the shower. So I gotta get myself on the right side here.
So now I come over to this side of the wall.
I think that's a good thing, yeah. Somewhere like there, right?
Yeah.
Find out.
Well, a little bit. If you want it on the green line, then.
No,
Okay.
because remember the green line is where we were putting our goop to.
Okay.
Watch yourself there. So with that base, we were probably a little bit light, but not that much light on that side. And definitely it was rocking back and forth. So we're gonna go ahead and just add some more to this half. And when that side was flat, this side was up, and the level said that we were good, which makes sense. I don't know why it makes sense. The floor is actually pretty much level, so you got me there, but it needs to slope up, and the pan slopes up. I don't know if there's a little bit of warp to that thing, but we've got to make sure that we get that set in there and that it will stay supported. So we'll try and raise it by maybe ½ an inch. So it's all set in, and the instructions mentioned keeping this front edge flat to the ground, and I don't know how a person would do that. Either our piece is a little bit warped or something, because it will not go flat to the ground and have the base be level. So I'm going to be able to shim that. I may just take a single board, it's probably not quite a ½ inch. I think it's 7/16 probably, and I have some 3/8 or 7/16. I'll just run it along there. If the flooring in the area, it won't take up that gap by itself. So that will help with that edge. And other than that, the flooring may go underneath that and then be sufficient. I don't know. That's an awfully large step for anything other than a hardwood floor, or maybe a vinyl. If we did vinyl and a pad, it's a ½ inch for sure, maybe 5/8 or even 3/4. So I don't know, but it's setting, it's held in place, and then we'll get Duroc once we've passed the inspection and are ready to start covering, and it'll be fine. It's not a problem. It's just installation instructions oftentimes will say things in a very confusing fashion. And if you haven't worked with that product before or have a lot of broad experience with setting, you might need to be prepared with extra materials and be ready to, make some on-the-fly decisions as to how you are going to, make all this work. And the only thing that I will say is, if we had the plumbing pipe that come up through the floor versus doing it after the fact once we were done with the base, and we'd made that many changes, like we put it down and chucked it twice before, in the mortar bed, and had to adjust the mortar bed. And if we'd done that, we would have had a real hard time, because you would have been gluing and ungluing and gluing and ungluing, and it hardens up fast. So I'm very glad that we worked that ABS after the fact. Now, if you're a pro, obviously that's not a problem. Maybe they work it from the tub or shower back. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you are in the plumbing trade. Do you typically work from the final fixture back to a common stack, or do you install with it through the floor like that? While this cures, we're going to leave it alone. I did put in a guide screw on all 4 of these kind of quote-unquote corners, just to make sure that it doesn't move around.
Right.
Okay, so I think we turn it, and then maybe I'll go on that side. Okay, you want to swirl this for me?
sitting pretty good on the mortar bed.
I'm holding my side up.
Okay.
I gotta go down there.
Okay, that side might need to come a little closer to the wall. Should we do that now?
Well, first time we got a little bit too much apparently. Said do an inch, and I don't know if that was the right amount, because it was high centered, and with that weave pattern on there, we could not get it to set down. You can see the skids, if you will. There's these skids right through here. They're a different height than the surrounding stuff, and they kind of just filled, and then I don't know, but it wasn't ideal. It was not what we were trying to do. Well, we ended up having to remove about half of the mud bed. It was just, once it sat more than a small amount in, it was done. So we ended up taking it and spreading it farther out in order to get it to where, you know, we could get it to level at the tub. However, that's done, and now tomorrow I can get the install finished, and we'll go from there. I just need to start with some truss head screws. Still, just getting it into the bed, you know, I mean, that's a big deal, having those two fixtures set in. This one has walls that are coming, and we'll want to get those. But technically, I guess I don't need to have the walls in for the inspection stage. So at least there's that. And I'm gonna let this just set for the day, and then I've got a plug for that drain. I'll get the little tub faucet plug reinstalled, and you know, now seeing exactly where the tub is, maybe I'll actually chuck that down further to be closer to the rim of the tub. I'm not sure. That seems a little bit high. You're gonna get some splash there. Not a huge deal, I don't think, but yeah, that's kind of funny. And the other thing is, I followed the measurements of where they told me to put these things, and not only was the drain, and this is a direct stud installation, so it's not just me forgetting something. Not only is the drain not in line with the depth from wall, which is a plumb wall, so again, but neither is the stem valve. So it's like right to the side. I don't know that it really matters to me. Other than that, that's weird. I would have thought they would be in line. So we've done quite a bit, and a lot of time has passed since I've really done much of any video, a little bit here and there. And part of the reason for that is just that there's a lot of repetitive stuff, and a lot of stuff that honestly is just needs to knuckle down and get it done. And the only thing I really could have shot would have been time lapse. And we are working under constraints, so there's only so many times that the county will do an extension before they just charge us the permit again and make us update everything to the current year's code, which would be some changes. So we've got to get some real progress going here, and basically we have until the end of the year if they don't, you know, make a big deal about one more extension. So it's been go time, but let me catch up on what we've gotten done over the past little bit, and we are getting very close to inspections. So I've got that hooked in again, and I did have, this was the shower. If you recall, it was like right there. Originally is where I'd cut it in. You can kind of see that discolored board, and we changed the shower base, and so now it's right there. So that's in and glued and set above, and just gonna be what it's gonna be. I can plug it, allow this probably a day for all that ABS glue to dry, and just make sure it's good and hard. It shouldn't take more than an hour, but just give it that extra time. No reason not to. And over here, we've got that tub secured up above and all glued in at the joint. I did have to cut it right here and extend it. And then two things. So first, the mud bed raised it ever so slightly, and I wanted a better seat up into there on the spot where it joins into the assembly for the tub drain. So I cut in and added a coupler and a little bit more pipe on that end. And then on this end, I had to cut it and extend this whole section of pipe with a coupler. And you can see that relative to the rough opening where they told me to put it, and it's measured correctly and the wall is plumbed, so I don't know what the deal is there. You can see it's really hugged to the one side. I don't know why it's that way. The tub is plumbed too, so there's really no reason I can think of, but I had centered that pipe exactly to the hole, and I didn't have the wiggle room to be able to pull it to be off-centered. Let me show you upstairs something too. So I'm gonna unsecure those two water lines, that tub spout, the shower, and then the valve, and scooch it to where it's in line with where the tub drain ended up being. Only thing I can think is that even though, and this is the best I can guess, this is designed to go with a pre-built surround, and it's designed to go direct to stud. I think that they gave measurements as if, you know, by a half an inch or a little bit more, as if it were being butted against sheetrock or tile backer or something. So I'm working with some 1-inch PEX here. You can see I've got it down to that end. And essentially what I've been doing is I just pre-bend this as much as I can. And it's cold. I will probably get some kind of heat on there and it would stay better and bend better, but it's gonna run it, put it into the hole where it's going, and then I just push it up, and you can see where I'm going to right there. So I'm just gonna see where I'm going to, which happens to be about the 160 PSI, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 PSI at 180. I'm gonna cut it a little long and then work it in from the other side this way. And then that allows me to get it off of this coily reel here and get it straightened as best I can before I install. So this isn't bad. I'm just gonna nail this in, strap this in up there. This end needs to be a little bit more, but we're close enough that once I get this attached to that joist, it should stay in roughly the shape that I'm looking for. And you just gotta make sure you're managing the way it wants to bend.
Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.